Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's lesson, we are doing a deep dive into CELPIP Speaking Task 2, the Personal Experience Task. Many candidates underestimate this task because they assume it's just telling a story. However, this is where your structure, fluency, vocabulary, and emotional clarity are tested under time pressure. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything step by step, from understanding the text to mastering preparation time to delivering a CLB 9 to 12 response. Let's begin with the foundation. Now, you would want to know, what is CELPIP Speaking Task 2? Task 2 is talking about a personal experience, and what is it? Speaking Task 2 requires you to describe a real event from your life. You are expected to explain what happened, describe how you felt, explain why it was important. This is a narrative task, but it's not casual storytelling. It must demonstrate logical sequencing, emotional awareness, language control, and reflection. If you don't have a personal experience that fits the prompt, you can always create an imagined scenario and describe it as it actually occurred. And that naturally leads us to understanding how the task is structured in the exams. In Speaking Task 2, you will be asked to describe a real event from your past. The question usually asks you to explain what happened, how you felt, and why the experience was important. You have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. Your goal is to present your experience clearly, logically, and with enough detail. The tone should always be informal because you are usually speaking to a friend. However, informal does not mean you should be careless. Your grammar, coherence, and vocabulary still matter significantly. Now that you understand the task format, let's look at what a typical question actually looks like. A typical question may look like this. Talk about a time when you felt proud of yourself. What happened? Why was it meaningful? How did you feel? Your response should sound natural, organized, and not memorized. CELPIP always provides guiding questions which are not optional. If you ignore one part, you lose marks for task fulfillment. High-scoring candidates systematically address the situation, the event, the emotional impact, and the outcome or lesson. Once you understand the question, the next important thing is knowing what examiners are actually listening for. CELPIP examiners evaluate 4 main things during your response. Number 1 is task fulfillment. Did you answer the question clearly? Number 2 is coherence and content. Are your ideas logically organized, and does your content have depth? Number 3 is vocabulary. Did you use a range of appropriate words? And the last one is listenability. Is your speech clear and easy to understand? High scorers require clear ideas, smooth flow, and confident delivery. Examiners are not judging your story. They are evaluating your English proficiency. If your story is emotional but disorganized, your score will definitely drop. To achieve this, successful test takers follow a clear and simple structure. Let's take a look at that structure. Strong responses usually follow a 4-part structure. The first is context, followed by main events, feelings and key details, and then the last is results or reflection. As a candidate, you have to briefly introduce the experience, explain when and where it happened, describe what actually happened, and explain why the experience was meaningful. This structure makes your response organized and easy to follow. It prevents you from rambling. Structure improves coherence and confidence. However, structure alone is not enough. You also need to use your 30 seconds of preparation effectively. Your preparation time is extremely important. During these 30 seconds, quickly think about the situation, the main event, your feelings, and the lesson or importance of the situation. You do not need to write full sentences, just write keywords that will guide your story. Your keywords should reflect who, where, problem or event, feeling, and result. Like I said, do not write full sentences. If you write full sentences, you will try to read, and doing that will reduce fluency and natural rhythm. For example, depending on the prompts you have during your speaking test, your keywords can be work presentation, nervous, last minute, successful, confidence boosts, and that is enough. Now, let's talk about how to begin your answer with a strong opening. Start your response with a clear introduction. A confident opening immediately signals control and clarity. The first 10 seconds matter. Avoid saying, I want to talk about. You should replace that with, I clearly remember a time when. One experience that stands out is, I would like to share an experience when. Remember, your opening sets the tone. Weak openings lower your perceived fluency level. For example, you can say, one memorable experience I would like to talk about happened a few years ago when I participated in an important event. This type of opening immediately introduces the story and provides context. After your opening, the next step is to develop the story clearly in the body of your response. The body of your response should describe the events clearly and logically. You should focus on what happened step by step, the people involved, and your reaction to the situation. Avoid repeating the same idea. Instead, add specific details that help the listener clearly imagine the experience. For example, instead of saying it was a good experience, you could clearly explain what exactly happened and why it mattered. Avoid using basic details such as it was hard. You can say, it was emotionally exhausting, it was mentally overwhelming, it pushed me beyond my comfort zone. At CLB 7, candidates use simple adjectives repeatedly. To reach CLB 9 to 12, you must expand vocabulary and add depth. When we say depth, what do we mean? We mean explaining why something was difficult, how it affected you, and what changed afterward. However, describing events alone is not enough. To make your response sound clear, organized, and fluent, you also need to connect your ideas using transition words. Let's look at how transitions improve coherence in your response. Transitions help your story flow naturally from one idea to the next. They guide the listener through your experience step by step. Here are some useful transitions you can use in CELPIP Speaking Task too. 1. To introduce a story, you can use transition words like initially, at first, to begin with. To continue the story, you can use words like then, after that, shortly afterward, or shortly after. To describe a result, you can use as a result, eventually, consequently, because of this. And to conclude, you can use looking back. Remember, transitions act like glue. Without them, your story sounds disconnected. For example, you can say, initially, I felt nervous. However, after practicing several times, I gained confidence. Eventually, the presentation went smoothly. Another example you can use is, first, I arrived at the event feeling very nervous. Then, after meeting the other participants, I gradually became more confident. Using transitions like these helps your response sound more coherent and professional. Now that you know how to organize and connect your ideas, let's look at the common mistakes candidates make during CELPIP speaking tasks too. Even strong English speakers sometimes lose points on this task because of a few common mistakes. The first mistake is speaking too generally. Some candidates say things like, it was a very good experience, but they do not explain what actually happened. The second mistake is poor organization. When ideas are not connected clearly, the story becomes difficult for the listener to follow. Another common mistake is repeating the same vocabulary. Using simple words repeatedly, such as very good or very happy, can limit your vocabulary score. Finally, some test takers forget to explain why the experience was important. Remember, reflection is an important part of the task. When you speak too fast, listenability decreases. Another mistake is giving too many small details. Focus on one clear event and develop it well. And always remember to end it properly. Now that you understand the common mistakes to avoid, let's look at a high-scoring sample response that demonstrates a clear structure and strong coherence. Here is an example of a strong response for this task. Question: talk about a time you overcame a challenge. This is a full 60-second model. I clearly remember a time when I had to complete a major communication project at work under an extremely tight deadline. Initially, I felt overwhelmed because I was assigned the responsibility unexpectedly. However, instead of panicking, I organized my tasks systematically and dedicated extra hours to research and preparation. Although it was mentally exhausting, the experience pushed me beyond my comfort zone. Eventually, I delivered the project successfully and my supervisor praised my commitment and clarity. Looking back, the experience significantly strengthened my public speaking confidence and taught me the importance of resilience and time management. As you can see, the response includes a clear introduction, logical transitions, detailed description, and a meaningful reflection. Now let's briefly summarize what we learned in this lesson. Before we end this lesson, here are a few final tips that can boost your CELPIP speaking score. First, focus on the structure. A clear beginning, middle, and ending makes your response easier for the examiner to follow. Second, use transitions to connect your ideas. Words such as first, then, after that, and as a result improve coherence and make your story sound more natural. Also add meaningful details. Instead of giving short answers, explain what happened, how you felt, and why the experience mattered. Furthermore, speak clearly and confidently. Remember, CELPIP evaluates listenability, so your pronunciation and pacing are important. Also, practice aloud consistently and answer all parts of the prompt. Lastly, practice speaking regularly. Record your responses, listen to them, and gradually improve your fluency and organization. Consistent practice combined with a clear strategy is the key to achieving a high score on CELPIP Speaking Task 2. Now that you understand the structure, common mistakes, and strategies for this task, you are ready to apply these techniques in your own practice. Before you finish this lesson, let's review the most important points you must remember for CELPIP Speaking Task 2. Task 2 is about structured storytelling, not random speaking. Always describe a specific past event or create one. Clearly explain what happened, how you felt, and why the event was important. And don't forget to use a clear 4-part structure: your context, main event, feelings, and reflection. Now that you understand how to respond effectively to CELPIP Speaking Task 2, talking about a personal experience, it's time to move on to the next speaking challenge. In the next lesson, we'll focus on Speaking Task 3, describing a scene. In this task, you will be shown a picture and asked to describe what you see in the image clearly and logically. You will learn to organize your description using foreground, background, and overall context, describe actions and details effectively, use strong vocabulary to make your response more precise. Mastering this task will help you improve your coherence, fluency, and descriptive language, which are essential for achieving a high speaking score. If you are serious about boosting your speaking score, continue to the next video and master task 3 step by step. I'll see you in the next lesson.